and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Jennifer Kirk.
And I'm Dave Leese, and today we are super excited to interview the original member of the Baby Ballerinas, Naomi Nari Nam. Jenny, she was one of your tough competitors when you were rising on the scene. What do you remember her about as a competitor?
I remember she was always a tough competitor because Naomi has this charisma, which I'm sure you'll see during the interview, and this X factor. So you knew she landed her jumps. Her second mark was going to be head and shoulders over the rest of the field. She had the spiral, the layback, the Beelman. So I remember always just keeping my fingers crossed that she was going to miss those jumps, which is horrible, but I think so many skaters do it. Yeah, definitely a tough competitor.
Well, one of the things we love about your mother, Jenny, is that she had notebooks on all of your competitors and took notes on what they were good at and how you could be competitive against them. What were her notes about Naomi like?
We started ordering Junior Olympic tapes of Naomi back in, I think it was 1995. She won Junior Olympics in the juvenile level. So I grew up just watching Naomi over the years in my den with my mom and my mom taking notes. But yeah, it was always, Naomi has those cheated jumps because she had a cheated double axel, but she'd do the spins and if that girl, again, it was as long as she gets the jump, she's going to be unstoppable. She was always a really tough competitor. Remember that short program in 1999, her falling on the triple flip and just showing that grit and determination, getting up and finishing the program. We could all respect that.
Yeah, I think about Naomi, it's all about the grit and the excitement and the split jumps she could really blur those spins. And I think no matter what, it didn't matter. The sum was so much better than each individual part that the technique doesn't even matter. It's fantastic to watch. So I'm super excited to soak up all of her charisma and that grit today. And I look forward, and I know that you do, to speaking with Naomi Nari Nam.
Well, Naomi, you were the original member of the Baby Ballerinas, and today you have babies of your own. So tell us about your family and what you've been up to the last couple years.
Well, I have a son, Aiden. He's 2 years old. And I just had a baby girl, Bella, and she is 8 weeks old.
Wow. You look really good.
Oh, thanks.
Well, one of the things
it's been pretty hard. It's been Bella she wakes up every 3 hours. She wakes up twice before I go to work at 5:40, so it's not too bad.
Lord, I admire you, Naomi.
Well, you gotta do what you gotta
do. It's worth it too.
Yes, very worth it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we've always wanted to know about you is that you're Naomi Nari Nam and your sister is Naomi Nami Nam. So how the heck did this happen? Does your mom just love the name Naomi? Or are you the original Korean Kardashians? What is going on here?
Well, my dad loved the name. And actually, when my mom was pregnant with my sister, she was a boy in the ultrasound. They said that she was a boy, and so they had picked all these boy names, and then when she came out, it was a girl. So my dad was like, oh, well, we love Naomi, so we'll name her Naomi. But we have different middle names. And my sister goes by her middle name.
Naomi.
Yeah.
Well, many of us remember you bursting on the scene as a young skater. What drew you to the sport initially?
Well, my grandfather took me on a public skating session when I was about 4, and my mom said that, I don't remember this, but my mom said I used to roller skate, but my feet were so small I would only wear one, so I would pedal around with one foot, and I used to go up and down the hill, and finally when I was about 4, they fit. And so I just roller skated everywhere around the house, in Costco, anywhere I went, I roller skated. So my grandfather was like, oh, let's take her skating. And I just fell in love with it. I caught on to it real quick. I think a coach approached me for private lessons, and it just kind of went on from there. Actually, I think my mom said I was too young. And we waited a year until I started skating school classes. And then I started private lessons right away.
Well, one of the most notorious coaches that you trained with was Mr. Nix. How did you and he team up?
My very first coach, Jennifer Mangiapello, she coached me from when I was 5 until about 8 or 9. I took lessons from Mr. Nix maybe once a week because he was not teaching any young and upcoming skaters. He was teaching Chris Bowman at the time, and actually Scott and Jenny were skating together, and Todd and Natasha Kuchiki were skating together. And so, I mean, I feel like he only taught Olympians. So I, only took one lesson a week from him, and my coach just happened to move rinks, and my mom was pregnant with my brother, and so it was way too far for her to drive all the way to her rink. So we asked Mr. Nix if he would take us on, and he said yes, which was like, oh my gosh, amazing for us. And I was so scared of him, but I mean, it worked out really, really well. He only taught me like 20 minutes a day, because that's all he had time for. But, he really taught me a lot. And that year, our first year together, I won juvenile nationals. So it worked out great.
We talk about being scared of him. What were your initial impressions of him?
Well, I think he was just so emotionless. And you hear all these stories, and he's just so, my very first coach was very animated, and she was like, we did like footwork competitions, and like it was very ISI and basic skill skating, and it was all about skating to whatever I wanted to, or skating to Disney music, right? But with him, it was very business. It was very like, you come into the rink, you do your programs, you do your job, and then you leave. You don't mess around. So it was a big change for me, but I think I know I love skating, and I was so serious about it that was the right decision at 9. So
Impressive.
Did he ever wear skates at all when he coached you?
Never. And I think he put, I think they were Uggs. I'm not sure, but he did put lifts on him, so he wasn't so close to the ice. So he was warmer, like his feet were warmer. I don't know, but they were pretty high. They were like wedges. I don't know what they were, but they said it kept him warmer. And it would just be so scary. Like he would just shuffle across the ice real quick, and we would just, all of us, any of his students would we would all brace ourselves because we didn't know when he was going to fall. And he actually only fell, since I've been with him, he's only fallen once, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was scary, but he got right back up.
He doesn't seem like the type of man who would stay down or like complain.
No,
He just
not
like,
at
brush
all.
himself off and keep going.
He just got right back up. It was like, okay, go do your program.
Okay.
So as you were rising up in your career, Mr. Nix obviously had Todd and Jenny. Were you skating alongside them? Did you and Angela Nikodinov ever overlap? Who was really in the rink at that time?
Angela Nikodinov was there. We never competed against each other at that time. But we were there, and yes, Todd and Jenny were there, and I skated when they were preparing for the 92 and the 94 Olympics. Mm-hmm. It was so much fun. I mean, Angela was basically like my older sister, and she took care of me, and we'd play games together, and it was basically her and I in the rink all day long, and so we spent the most time with each other, and she would take me out to lunch, and I don't know, it was fun. She was like my older sister.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the mid-90s, Jenny and Todd were a really big deal in U.S. figure skating and in pair skating. They won 3 world medals together. So what did you learn from watching them train?
They were like my second parents, basically, and I look up to them so much. They work so hard. They really did, and they just watching them, and I can't explain it because they helped me out a lot also. They told me, they actually did a show program for me. They choreographed that Little Bitty Pretty one, which was my very first show number I had. And they just were hard workers. I mean, they came into the rink and, they were so nice to anybody and everyone. And they were so courteous and so respectful to the other skaters, even if they were, as little as I was, and just fun people to train with.
What's your relationship like with them today?
Well, Jenny comes over once in a while with her boys, and I try to go visit her once in a while, and she's just, she said it like, she can't believe I have kids. I can't believe I have kids, but I mean, we still hang out and we still talk to each other, and we have, we share, like if she asks if, there's any pair teams, to pair up with some of her kids and vice versa with us too. And we just have a great working relationship. And it's so great that we still do, because they were such a big part of my life.
It's wonderful. We talked earlier about Mr. Nix scurrying across the ice. And I think many of us, we have this visual of him sitting in the kiss and cry with his dark sunglasses on, poking fun at his female students during press conferences. He likes to make you guys sound like tenacious little divas.
Yeah.
So what is he like every day in the rink?
Okay, so when we get there, he always sits in his little office, and he always has tea, and he always has, I don't know if they're crumpets, but he eats scones. He loves
Very English of him.
Yes, very. And he loves to keep his office dark. I think it's an intimidation thing, because when you go in his office, you sit like so far away from him in this big, huge desk, and he talks to you about whatever he needs to talk to you about. And then he goes and comes on the ice and, is very emotionless, and he's just like, his corrections are, you either here or you're there. You're here or there. I wish you guys could see it. I wish I had a video of it. But it totally made sense, and it totally worked for every single person that he worked with. I do know that I think he would forget some of our names sometimes because he has so many students.
I think Frank does that too.
Frank uses only people's last names. We know
Hughes girl.
The Hughes girl that he taught,
So we would all be Miss. He'd be like, Miss, to call us over, and we'd all be looking at him like, which one?
I love it.
Does he really pick on you guys all the time or make fun of you, or is that only for the press conferences?
I think if there are ever times, no, I don't think he picks on us. One time he did tell us not to wear tank tops because we look like Victoria's Secret models.
Ooh.
He said
at 13,
no more tank tops.
Evie used to make fun of us for wearing, we went through a stage, I don't know if you guys did this, where we wear just like sports bras to skate.
How did we do that? We were so crazy.
We were we're like little children.
I know. I don't think I ever did that in front of Mr. Nix. I think if I went to a different rink, maybe. But why would we do that, Jenny?
We thought we were so cool, so mature.
I know. We were crazy. We probably were freezing, but who cares?
We look cute.
Well, the skaters coached by Mr. Nix are known for all of the extras they bring to the ice. Those really good split jumps and laybacks that everyone is super envious of, and the lines. So is this something that you spent a lot of time on when you were growing up? Were you a naturally good spinner? How did it all, or did he just, put more of an emphasis on that?
I actually worked with Mr. Nix's then wife, Yvonne. She was a great spin coach, and she taught all of us all of our spins. I mean, she just she must have had some sort of trick, but we were all pretty good spinners there, and we all took from her. And in just like a 15-minute lesson, she would come up with different positions and different ideas of what to do on spins, and she was just great. I think she was the key to the spinning. Flexibility-wise and spirals and all that, Mr. Nix, he just spent extra time doing those things. It wasn't all about the jumps. He made sure that we practiced our jumps and our programs out of his lesson, which I think helped. And he did spend a lot of time on, choreography and spirals and split jumps and really trying to find the it factor that'll separate us from the group.
Well, he definitely achieved that. All of you guys were so the second mark was phenomenal. But Mr. Nix is known for commanding a great deal of respect. What would you say is his training philosophy? In an average lesson with him, does he always have you do your run-through? Does he believe in double run-throughs? How does he approach training?
I think he is so professional, and he's so well respected because he is professional to all of his students. I think he treats everyone the same. I think he's got a specific regimen that he follows with each of his students, and he really takes the time. I think because he's seen me grow up, and through my teen years, he really and same with Sasha, he would bring us in at the same time and give us interview lessons or let us know how to act around judges and officials and the media. He really educated us very well, and he took the time to do that. And I think that was a big help to us mentally, having him prepare us for, what skating has to offer and what happens at nationals or sectionals, or, what we need to represent him as. And I think that's why his students are so well respected also, because he respected us and he taught us so well. And he really gave us a few key points that, we needed to learn.
Mm-hmm. Well, as a skater, you rose through the ranks very quickly, winning national titles as a novice and a juvenile, and you placed 4th as a junior in '98 and decided to compete as a senior in '99. Leading into those national championships, what were your actual goals?
When I went from junior to senior, that was a huge jump. And I think Mr. Nix and I and my parents were really going back and forth on it. My parents really pushed going to senior because they thought it would push me. And I don't do well when, I'm held back, of course. But I think it just made me work even harder, basically because I didn't want to, be the youngest one in senior and, having it be a mistake to go up to senior and people saying like, oh, she should have stayed junior. So I worked extra hard, and it really paid off, I think.
You first gained national attention at your first senior national championships that year, and you took a very nasty fall during your short program. It was a fall, I think, after which
I'll never let that down.
Well, it's a fall after which I think many skaters probably would have stopped the program. It was horrific to watch it as an audience member. But you got up, you showed your grit and determination, and finished the program. What were you thinking after that fall, and how did you continue that skate?
I think it's funny because everyone says that I was determined, and, they're so shocked that I got up and kept going. But really, I was like, oh, my God, I don't want to stop. I don't want to start over. There's no way I'm doing that triple flip again after I fell on it. I was like, yeah, right. So I kind of sat there, and I was like, what should I do? And Mr. Nix, of course, is in the kiss and cry with his sunglasses, just like,
Right.
He's not, there's no action from him. And I was like, okay, there's only like a triple toe left, some footwork and some spins. I could do that. And so I just kept going. I really didn't want to start over. That's what kept me going.
Well, the triple toe was great. The spins were good. I mean, if you had watched that program from like the last, I would say half on, you wouldn't have thought anything happened. It was
well, that's great. That's good. That was the point.
But that Saturday night in February 1999, you took the ice for your first final warm-up group at Nationals. And I just remember my first warm-up group Nationals. You open up the curtain, and there are thousands of fans. The ABC crew is in your face, Michelle Kwan standing there. And you were only 13. How were you able to handle that pressure, and what were you thinking when you stepped onto the ice for warm-up?
Well, I just thought it was so cool that I was skating in an arena and that I got to be on TV. And, competing against Michelle Kwan didn't even cross my mind because she is my idol. She was before me, and I basically was like sat there, watched her in awe, and I was like, okay, I got to do my jumps like that.
You actually watched her compete?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. I was sitting in the locker room thinking like, oh wow, I got to watch her now. And it was like inspiring. It was motivating. I did not think of her as a competitor. And when you're 13, you don't know what pressure is. You just go out there and you're just like, okay, here I am. Let me just do my program that I've done a million times. So when you ask, how did I handle the pressure, I didn't feel any pressure at all. And the TV and the audience, it was, you hear your friends, and you know that. You can hear them. I can hear my mom. It was just so motivating, and I was so excited to be there that there was no pressure. And so I just went out and did the best that I could.
Well, you went on to skate the performance of a lifetime. Talk us through it. Tell us everything. What were you thinking during the program?
And I think every skater would agree with me. When you have that great of a skate, you really can't think of anything. I remember thinking oh, my nails look so nice in this light before my
love it.
But it just was it happened so fast, and it happened so quickly. I just remember saying, okay, take a deep breath before each jump and just calm down. And everything just fell into place and happened very well. I don't remember, like, you can't think of jump technique. It just happens too quick.
Mm-hmm. Well, prior to the Nationals, you were a skater with a lot of buzz in the skating world, given all of, your split jumps and your spins and everything. But you were also known for being a tad inconsistent, like most young teenagers who are struggling to get those triples. Now, in life, we often have a sense of, the level of success that we deserve based on what's happened before and what comes that. So when you received so much attention afterwards, did you feel like you had really deserved it and earned it? Or did you feel unsure? Did you have those feelings of insecurity when all of a sudden the attention is now on you?
Right. I think, well, the next year, the following year, that's when I really knew what pressure was. And I think I wanted to have the same performance at Nationals as I did the year before. And it's just self-pressure. You just put all that pressure on yourself. I don't think I cared about the media and the attention. That year, a lot of things happened. I was 13. I traveled almost like every weekend. Doing skating shows or even the Tom Collins tour. It was just a lot, I think, for someone so young. And I didn't know how to handle it. And I think my mom was great at supporting me, but she didn't know how to handle it also. I think Mr. Nix prepared me as well as he could, but really I just put all that pressure on myself and was like, I really have to skate well, instead of thinking, okay, what do I have to do to skate well? What do I have to do? I think I was well trained, but I think I just put too much pressure on myself, and it really caught up. And that I wish I had continued, after that. I got injured the next year, but I think I would have been more educated on the mental aspect of it and not putting so much pressure.
Well, when you competed on the Junior Grand Prix the next year, there were camera crews that went with you to both of your events. Did all of that pressure start to scare you a bit?
I don't think it was scary. I think Jenny won one of the Junior Grand Prix.
I remember that.
I don't think it was scary. I think I just thought, it's part of the business. I think this is what happens when you are successful, and you can't make them go away. They're just going to be there. I think there was, in the back of my mind, I'm sure there was, like, I wish they would kind of go away and leave me alone. But I knew that I couldn't do anything about it. And I don't think they were added pressure. If anything, I put a lot of pressure on myself. It wasn't the media, my coach, or my family. It was a lot of myself.
Well, overnight, you became a star in South Korea. And LG signed you to an endorsement deal. There was a commercial. You had an ice show of your own in South Korea. What was it like living in the U.S. and then having such attention when you would go to South Korea?
It was insane. They are so supportive, and they love anybody who succeeds in the U.S. It was like, I was like Michael Jackson or something. It was like overwhelming. It was crazy. The media there is very pushy, is very aggressive. I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Performing in front of them, the crowd was amazing. They were just on their feet. They were cheering so loud all the time. You couldn't even hear your music. They're just so into skating. They love skating. They love, the fans are just awesome. But it was really overwhelming, and I'm so blessed that I was able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you talk about skating being a business, and one of the things that comes with success and your endorsements is money. So did you ever feel pressure to be a breadwinner for your family or to keep that, those endorsement deals coming along?
No, not really. My parents were really good about that stuff. I was too young to know what money was, although I did buy my first BB outfit. And Jenny Mino took me to buy it.
Oh, I love it.
But that, they were so great about it, and they handled all the money. I didn't know, what to do with it, obviously. But no, I never felt that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Dave talked about camera crews coming with you to the Junior Grand Prix, and in the fall of 1999, you went to your first of those events. It was in Canada, and you won the silver medal. And it seemed like to some in the skating world, it was kind of a disappointment. People expected you to just win everything after winning that silver at Nationals. Was that a disappointment, and what was the experience like at your first international?
Well, being part of Team USA was probably the thing that I was most proud of. Just to get the jacket and to travel as a team and sitting with your team, waving the American flag. I mean, that was just in itself, I was so excited and happy to be there. But you get to see what else is out there in the world for the very first time. I only knew what was in the US, and now you know what was out there in the world, and you get to see, I think there was a Russian girl that was awesome, and I think she was the one who won. And you see what they have to offer and what you learn from it, and you want to go home and practice and see what you can improve on and how you can be better than they are.
Well, a couple weeks after that event, you traveled to Nagano, Japan for your second Junior Grand Prix, and you struggled a bit in Japan, finishing off the podium. What happened at that competition, and how did that affect your your confidence, I should say, leading into nationals?
I think I was jet lagged, honestly. Like, I think I know I left later than the rest of the team, and I remember going to Korea and it took me like 2 days to get in the zone and kind of get my mind straight. But I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I didn't even remember like where I was. I was so jet lagged. I think we only got there like a day and a half before or two. And it was one of those things where I had to remember for next time, like I need to get there like 4 or 5 days earlier because I was so jet lagged. I didn't know what was going on. Like everything was fuzzy.
Yes.
But I remember, I think I in the short, like I fell on something silly, like a flying sit or something. And I think that's what kept me so low in the short. And that was, I think, the jet lag just kicking in. And I think that's what skaters have to learn also. You have to learn that about yourself. I know skaters who can go and do, that doesn't even faze them. But I think for certain skaters like myself, I had to know that, I need to get there earlier and be more prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Well, around that time, you were originally slated to compete at a Pro-Am, but you wound up competing elsewhere. And Sasha Cohen took your place and gained a ton of attention for herself right off the bat. When did you first meet Sasha?
Well, Sasha and I were training buddies all the way from, I think when she was novice, I'm not quite sure, but we were like the bestest of friends. We really were. We were off the ice. We hung out all the time. And then on the ice, I mean, there was a competitive spirit about both of us. And so we were very competitive on the ice. And I think that's what pushed us so much. When Mr. Nix took Sasha on, I think he did that specifically to help each other. And it worked great, I feel like.
Well, Mr. Nix always described you as being very tenacious, and Sasha was always headstrong. Talk about him, you feeling like he brought you two together in order to push each other. Did he ever pit you guys against each other in practice? Would he say, Sasha just did a clean program, Naomi, show me what you can do? I mean, how did that dynamic work in training every day?
One time, and I will never forget this because it was probably the worst day of my life that day. But, he would bring like a video crew in to do slow motion for us. And they had a huge TV. And at that time, I had a wrap. And Sasha didn't. And she has like beautiful air positions. And so what he made the camera guy do is do a split screen.
Oh.
And it was like, I wanted to bawl my eyes out. But you know what? It really pushed me. It was like, okay, I'm going to get rid of this wrap and so I can be competitive with Sasha. And it was a healthy thing to do. I mean, it was devastating at that time and probably that day, but it really, because I was so, determined to be a great skater, I took it as a positive. I took it as, okay, I got to fix this thing. He means business. So.
How were you able, though, then, because I remember when I was a teenage girl and Evie would, say, Luann just did this or that. It was really hard for me to divorce myself from what went on the ice and then to go eat lunch with her. How were you guys able to do that? Did you ever feel like it trickled over to your off-ice relationship?
I think at times, at some of the times when we were off the ice, we were competitive in certain things. Like, I remember we were really into Beanie Babies, and we were so competitive, and we would come each week or like compare which Beanie Babies we had and all that stuff. And I think it did kind of trickle over to our off-ice relationship, but we kept it pretty separated. We never talked about skating outside of the rink, and so I think that helped.
Well, you were both known for being exceedingly fabulous on the ice. You talk about pushing each other. Now, you were both flexible and musical and could spin, and you had the Beelman, but she had the spiral. Did you think it pushed you to get that better split jump and to, make every aspect of your skating better?
Definitely. I knew that Sasha was so naturally flexible, and I really had to work on my spiral, work on my split jump or something else to kind of get ahead of her. And I think Mr. Nix is really good about trying to find, different things that we can bring to the skating world. I'm sure that was really difficult because Sasha was great at the split jump too. But I remember with my Beelman, this one girl told me that my legs were too short to do a Beelman, and so I worked even harder for that. It wasn't Sasha. it was some other girl that I was competing with when I was a lot younger, like when I was 8 or 9. And she told me that my legs were too short to do a Beelman, so I stretched that baby until I could do a Beelman. And I've always had that attitude, Same with, with the other girls. And that's what was so great about competing internationally was you got to see what other people were doing, and you go home and you try to work on what you can do better.
Well, for many years, Sasha was a couple levels below you. You were going up through the ranks. When did you first notice that she was catching up to you?
I think she was just one below me. I think when I was junior, she was novice. Mm-hmm. And then, senior, and she was junior. I knew that when she was in junior that she was going to catch up. And the next year we would compete against each other. And, I think that's when it got really, really competitive because we were actually in the same event together. And I'm not going to lie and say that it didn't cross my mind of like, oh, I got to beat Sasha. But it did. And that's very normal to think. And I think I just had some obstacles, personal obstacles that I had to overcome and had to learn about, like the pressure thing. And when it came to the time where I had to compete against Sasha at nationals the first year, it didn't really cross my mind. I think there was so much added pressure elsewhere that it didn't really faze me.
Mm-hmm. Well, when ABC Sports came to do your fluff piece for 2000 Nationals, they wound up doing it on both you and Sasha. She hijacked your fluff piece. Now, was there a sense that she was gunning to take what you had?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't think those were her intentions, but I'm sure she wanted the attention too. I mean, who wouldn't? Mm-hmm. I'm sure that if I was below Sasha, I would probably try to hijack her too. I just kidding. But I would. I think that's very normal, and I think it's healthy to feel that way because you are competitive and you want to be the best. So why not try to hijack my fluff, So I think everything. We both had very competitive personalities, and I think that we wanted what each other had. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, leading into Cleveland Nationals in 2000. Did you have hope or confidence that it was going to go well, or did you have a sense of dread that you kind of had to repeat last year's performance?
I don't think it was dread. I think it was just like, I got to do this. I got to do this. I have to skate well. I'm going to go for it all the way. And if it was, without me thinking through my elements, then so be it. I just felt like I had to do it. And I felt like I went out there and I gave my all. It just wasn't the smartest of thinking, or I was too rushed. Everything was very, very rushed. I look like, if I watch videos of myself, that in Cleveland, I look like the Tasmanian devil. I was like going out there, rushing through. I was so fast and quick with my movements. I think I just wanted to get the program done and over with and skate it well. It just, mentally, I think it was a lot of pressure.
Well, you kept it together pretty well during the short program. You were in 5th, still in the mix. You stepped out of the lets, doubled the flip. Sasha was in 1st. Michelle was in 3rd after falling on her triple toe. Heading into the long program, what was your mindset? And did you believe that you had a shot to be on the podium at the end of the night?
I did. I had a very positive belief in myself that, okay, you can come back from this. And I really don't remember exactly what I said to myself or what I thought. I just remember taking in Mr. Nix's words of, you can do this, you have done this before, and just go out there and give it your best. And I did, and that's what I felt like I did. I just don't think that my best was what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I think, and sometimes that happens to skaters. You don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, talk us through that performance in Cleveland a bit. It obviously was set up really well. You guys skated back to back. The fluff piece aired earlier, and, she came off the ice right before you. There was a hug, and then you go to center ice. So when you were taking center ice at the last moment, did you think it was going to go well?
I wanted to believe that I was going to go well. I really did. I don't remember feeling more nervous than I usually was. I remember really trying to block out, her marks or anything, anything that was going on outside of myself. I think that was really difficult for me to do because that was the first time I had been in that situation, and I wanted to be happy for my training mate, but then I also, wanted myself to do really well and hope that she didn't do well, but I think I knew in the back of my head that she had done very, very well.
Mm-hmm. Well, after your 8th place finish in Cleveland, did the attention and the endorsements in South Korea go away immediately?
No, actually, they were very, very, very supportive. And I think the media attention was pretty much the same. I was doing the same, the same shows and the same tours and all those things. And no, they were very, very supportive. And they understood that, this happens to athletes. And athletes this young also. I think before they even signed on, they knew how young I was, and they knew that things weren't going to go perfectly all the time, and they were just so great about it all. LG, everybody that worked for LG and the CEO of LG, they are so sweet and such great people that I felt really, they did not put any pressure on me. They made me feel at ease and at home with them.
We talk about things not going perfectly, and around this time it became known that you had a hip injury. You had to withdraw from nationals in 2001. What happened with your hip?
Well, one day I remember I was training for a junior Grand Prix in Germany, and I was doing a triple Lutz, and I landed it, but I heard a pop in my hip, and I just fell to the ground, and I knew that there was something wrong. I had never had an injury before. I had maybe like a sprained ankle or, being sore here and there, but I had never had a major injury. But I just knew from that moment that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to compete this year. It was really, really bad. I was in a lot of pain. And it kind of, we went through 3 doctors and getting different opinions, and no one really diagnosed that I had a torn labrum until my 4th doctor. I went to the same doctor as Tara Lipinski, Dr. Philippon, and we went all the way to Florida to go see him, and he said I had a torn labrum and that all the cartilage had been ripped, and that he needed to have surgery. I needed to have surgery to repair it. I was born with this thing called dysplasia, which is where your ball's too big for your socket. And so this was a common factor in people who have dysplasia, that their hips aren't as strong, and the labral tear can happen. But from the beginning, from when I was 14 or 15, he said that I needed a hip replacement, or eventually that I was going to need it. And so this surgery would hold me off for a little bit, and to see how it goes, but eventually, like later down the line, I would need a hip replacement. And so he had suggested that, but of course we were like, oh, no way. And we went on with the surgery. Recovering from the surgery was really difficult because I wasn't sure how much I could push myself. I have a very high pain tolerance, and I'm very determined to come back. And I think it's not that I didn't follow doctor's orders. I did follow doctor's orders, and he did clear me, but I was just very weak, and I was in a lot of pain.
Over the next few years, we didn't know if you were on the ice, off the ice. You talk about going through surgery. You went back to public high school. I think I read an article that you were working as a barista, just wanting to be a normal teen. What was that transition like, though? Because you were, in many ways, an international superstar, and now you're just an average teen. Was that difficult at all, and how much were you actually able to skate?
Well, I felt like I tried my best to come back. I was on and off the ice, and it was very, very frustrating. I had lost, all my jumps, and I had to do that, I think, 3 or 4 times. I would get them back, and then I would start feeling pain again, and then the doctors would tell me to take more time off. So it's not like I decided one day, like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I think I gave it my all. I gave it 110% of trying to recover and trying to come back and be competitive. I did compete before I decided to stop skating, I did compete sectionals, and I didn't make nationals. And it was just because my training time, I didn't have a lot of training time because I was on and off the ice so much, and I wasn't as prepared, and that's why I didn't make it. And that was devastating in itself, but I just felt like all these girls were, they had all year to work on these triples, and I tried to do it in 8 weeks. And so I think that was making my injury worse. And so one day I decided, okay, I have to let this go. I should try going to high school. So I went to high school, and I had a blast. I only went to actual high school for a semester, because in my homeschooling I had caught up and I had done so much work that I only had to go to high school for 1 semester in order to graduate. So I had a blast. I made lots of great friends that I'm still friends with today. And I wanted to be normal, so I got a job. And I got the job because my cousin worked there. And so she got me the job, basically. And it was fun. It was fun. I didn't, I missed skating and I missed being the star, but I just accepted the fact that I got to move on in life. I can't have that stardom forever. And I can't. It's not like I can't help it.
Well, in 2002, 2 of the baby ballerinas, Sasha, as we talked about earlier, and Sarah Hughes, took center stage at the Salt Lake City Games. It was the same arena that you had your breakout performance just 3 years earlier. Did you watch the Olympics? And if so, was it bittersweet at all watching them out there and what so many people thought was going to be your Olympics?
I remember not wanting to watch it, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to cheer my teammates on, and I wanted to cheer my training mate on and see how well they were going to do. I mean, Sarah, I admire her so much because she came on the scene from junior, and to go to the Olympics and win, I mean, I thought that was so amazing, and I was so happy for her. But it was bittersweet. I wish I would have been there. And I think it would have been great for figure skating if they had all the baby ballerinas on the Olympic team. But, at that time, I was kind of like, it is what it is. And I was really happy for Sasha and Sarah.
Did you have the belief when you were watching that you would be back out there?
When I was watching, you mean when I was watching the Olympics?
The Olympics, yeah, because you talk about the injuries.
I think at that moment, I knew I wasn't going to. I knew how much skating has evolved and how I think, Sarah, ever since Tara Lipinski, she was doing triples, and I knew that it was just going to get harder. Mm-hmm. And I knew that my hip wouldn't allow me to do that. Before I got injured, yeah, I was working on triples too, and triple axel. And I think part of it was, all that jumping and all the pressure that the jump has to be perfect. And I think that's what got me injured in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Well, you talk about working at Starbucks, and I remember you said you made really good foam.
Coffee Bean, not Starbucks.
Oh!
I worked at Starbucks, Dave.
Such a difference. But at that time, did you think that your skating career was truly over? Were you planning on college? Were you thinking of coaching? Where was your mind at?
I wasn't thinking, I was like, I'm never going to coach. I remember skating and I was like, oh, I am never going to coach. Don't want to be in the rink longer than I have to. So that didn't cross my mind. I didn't think about coming back to skating or anything. I just thought about making coffee and going to college.
Well, we have seen so many skaters have breakout performances at nationals. You were really one of the first, but I think of Mirai Nagasu, Caroline Zhang. When you look back on your career, what advice do you have for skaters who have that all-star performance at nationals in order to handle all the pressure and expectations that stem from it?
I would probably tell them to not put, obviously not put so much pressure on yourself, but focus more on your own personal goals. What do you want to accomplish at this nationals or, Grand Prix or whatever, that you're not going to be able to help how you skate. You can prepare for it as much as you can, and you should do as much as you can in your everyday training. Make sure you're physically prepared, mentally prepared, and confident in your programs and your jumping, so that, when you do get to the competitions and you have the pressure and adrenaline going, that you can rely on your training and your off-ice training and your mental training.
Very sound advice, and I'm sure you're a phenomenal coach, and we look forward to talking to Themi in a bit. But as we wrap up your individual interview, we want to play a game with you. I'm sure you've seen it from our previous interviews. We're going to say the name of someone in the skating world, and we want to know the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the person's name, okay? Ready? Honesty. Not the honesty, as Ty would say.
Okay.
We're going to start with Mr. Nix.
Fear. I'm still scared of him. I think what I talked about.
Sasha Cohen.
Bouncy. I don't know. You know why? Because I'll tell you why. Because at nationals this year, I hadn't seen her in forever. So she comes up to me and she's like running up to me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, hi Sasha." We give each other a hug. And I go, "What's going on in your life?" And she goes, "Everything is fantastic, and I have a boyfriend finally." And she was bouncing up and down. So that's my most recent thought about her.
Yeah, she's always moving. I wonder if she has ADD.
She has lots of energy.
Yes. How about Galina Cohen, her mom?
Oh, goodness. That's all. Oh, goodness. That's all I have to say.
Jenny Mino.
Sweet.
Todd Sand.
Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty, because that's all he would listen to. And I grew to like Bruce Springsteen and Tom Petty when I was older, but when I was younger and he would play it on the sessions, I'd be like, "What is this?"
We want some Britney Spears.
Yeah, exactly.
How about Michelle Kwan?
Idol. She still is my idol. I think she is a wonderful person. I think she is the face of figure skating and is a legend.
Angela Nikodinov.
Sister. We still stay in contact, and she recently, her little girl is 1 year old now, and so we're so excited to have play dates with our girls.
How about Tiffany Stiegler?
Dramatics. I mean, I just remember looking at her programs and being like, "Oh my gosh, she has so much drama." So much drama in her skating.
Tanith Belbin.
Beautiful. I think she's gorgeous. I mean, she should be a cover girl, right? I think when she was dancing and when she was skating, she was so beautiful. She's gorgeous.
Andrea Gardner.
Wow, I haven't heard that name in so long.
Bringing you back to Cleveland.
Andrea Gardner. I don't know. I don't know what to say about her. I don't know. I don't even remember what to say about her. I'm sorry. I'm pass. Can we pass?
Dick Button.
One word. I think he was really nice to me.
He loved you, yeah.
Yeah, he was really nice. I love him. He's so nice, even though that's probably an oxymoron, right?
Right.
What other people think, but yeah, I thought he was really nice.
Ryan Bradley.
Showman. He's a showman, definitely. I think he does great in shows, and I mean, all the little girls have huge crushes on him, right? And so I think he's just a showman skater. You gotta love him.
How about Evan Lysacek?
Jenny Kirk.
I think I remember you guys dated for a little bit.
We did, and
he dated Sasha too.
I don't. Yes, he dated. He made his rounds.
That man has dated all of us.
We should get all of his ex-girlfriends on this show.
We were talking about that last week. We need like a roundtable discussion about how does he get all of us?
I know. What were we thinking? No.
Seriously.
I think Evans and my relationship lasted a week, though. I remember I did Tommy's tour in Chicago, and he brought me flowers, and I was so embarrassed because Nicole Bobick was making fun of me, but that was all I remember. I think wasn't instant messaging popular back then. I think we had like a week-long instant messaging relationship.
And he had the weirdest name. It was like Mr. Spanky or something.
Yes, I remember that.
All of our names were so weird.
I know.
Anyway.
I remember my mom called him Chicken Boy one time because remember, I think it was a year that we all did Junior Grand Prix, and he had the big fluffy sleeves.
Yeah, he skated to like a Spanish program.
Yes, but the sleeves were like orange and red and yellow.
Lord. Those are the days.
This is a separate show.
I know, the reminiscing show. This was so much fun. It really brought us back to the baby ballerina age. And you are amazing. Best of luck with your kids. I'm sure they keep you quite busy. And thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you guys. I enjoyed it.